Okay. Gonna be streaming a little bit of Stone Shards. It's been a while since we've touched the game, since the last patch. We got a new patch. So we're gonna check out some of the new stuff. I added in new lighting mechanics.
So here I am. The caravan is gone. My leg is crippled. Half my men are dead, and the other half are deserters and traitors. The host be praised. At least I've got the stone shard. If I knew I had to deal with an entire cult of devil knows what, I'd think thrice before getting into the whole mess. I'm too old for an adventure like this. If only I could have a good talk with Gwinnell right now. I'd ask him what the hell is going on. I've been doing this for 30 years, but I've never found myself in such a tough spot. I need to get back to Bryn. I'm not up to going there by myself, so that's why I sent for you. Do you remember how I helped you out back then? Well, time to return the favor. Damn, it's been so long. Tell me, what have you been up to?
Did we add any new ones? No, it's still all the same familiar faces. Who do we play? Well, let me quickly just take a look at the patch notes. So, from the looks of it, they've added a new sling tree to the game. Or like the throwing skill, is that what it is? Or is it just considered another ranged weapon? New type slings. I'm assuming they work, because I think they have an ammo pouch. I think they're just another variant of a ranged weapon. I'm waiting for them to put a throwing tree in the game. Yeah. Wonder if there's more stuff added onto the map. I haven't looked. I know that they reworked the occult enemies a bit. And there's, reading the patch note, there's a lot of little changes to things. But mostly, unless they added, like, more chunks to the map, which I assume he did. If not, whatever. I'm here to check out these new slings anyways. So who would be good for a sling build, I wonder? Does anyone start with... I wonder if they reworked anyone and gave them the sling. Ranged weapons. I might want to try Hilda out. This is the dwarf. I played a little quick playthrough with her, I think, to the troll, just to try her out. But I'm kind of interested in her trophy mechanic thing. I only got that like one time to fool around with that, so maybe we'll do like a Hilda. She starts off with the ranged weapons. She got magic mastery as well. Maybe we'll do like a spear build with sling backup. Or sling build with spear backup. I think that's more of the right rotation on this.
Is that so? Interesting. Anyway, enough pleasantries. It's time to get to work. So here's the deal. I can't walk to Bryn with my leg like this. So unless you plan to carry me, we need a cart. We need horses. We're in luck, though. While you were away, I had a talk with the village elder. We came to an agreement. We'll do a couple of tasks for them, and they'll give us a cart and 2 horses. Don't worry about the job. It's nothing special. I don't think you need my advice on how to deal with brigands. or the undead. The Elder will give you the details. You should go see him right away. No time to waste. Ah, I almost forgot. Here's a map of the area. You need it more than I do. You can also ask the innkeeper about local events. He is a talkative kind. I'm sure he'll answer any of your questions. Off you go then. Good luck.
Okay, we're in it. I'm playing with a different aspect ratio than I'm used to. 'Cause the inn feels so much smaller. Okay, what we got? We got new items. Yeah, I like the way the inventory looks. Yeah, I'm definitely playing with a different aspect ratio because I'm not used to seeing all of this. Because I got a new monitor when I bought my new computer. So, got a slightly better aspect ratio. That's nice. I like the detail of it. Everything feels really small to me, and I'm not used to everything being this small. It's kind of throwing me off. Okay, we got some stones. Okay, so she does start with the sling stuff. That's good. We got a torch. Can be equipped and ignited. Illuminating surroundings with 9 tiles. Remains lit. Okay, I think now the game's more... I wonder if they gave you more talent points for access to leveling up quicker. We still got the 2 to start. Because maybe this game's going in the direction that it wants to just have you be a more versatile build than a specialist build now. With the way that the lighting system comes in. Because you can't hold a torch while wielding a two-hander. So you're gonna have to do some kind of like backup build, and if you don't have the talents for the weapon, then you're a little bit at a detriment. Especially since you only have 2 slots to stick weapons in, and usually you want a range option in the back. Such as our sling here. Let's use the map. What's our layout look like? Okay, we got dungeon here, here, and here, which is a pretty standard layout. Sometimes there's dungeons around here, and I have had a dungeon spawn down here before in the first town. This usually is always the same. This is probably the starting quest that we want to get done. This is pretty much in the same location, and so is the barrel brew. We got a bit more forest over here than I normally deal with, and the lake is closer to the oak barrel brew than it normally is. So yeah, let's organize our inventory real quick. Actually, I don't know if I like this aspect ratio. I might change it back at some point. Okay, this is... Okay, this is... how you craft it, right? That's how it works. Alright, crafting menu. Is it the bone charm plus... that? Yeah, okay. So this will give us additional max energy. Or we could not do that, because I don't really care about the max energy, because we don't have a lot of talents yet, because we're just starting out. So the max energy is not going to be as useful to us, because we're not going to be spamming skills. So maybe we'll just sell this early to get the extra money. We got food, we got some money, we got water. This we have to carry on us because it's her special thing, and I'm pretty sure that you can remake it if you lose it anyways. But I haven't played around with her that much, so I wouldn't know. We got leeches, and we got ourselves a hunting net. Normally I don't like carrying them around with me, even though they are useful. Because this game is turn-based, so it's... if you know anything about playing turn-based games... the tutorials have turned back on for me. If you know anything about playing turn-based games, they are a action economy styled gameplay. So, you have to take in consideration every round, because moving is a round and doing an action is a round, that everything that you do is weighed against every other option that you can do. So, because throwing a net takes up a round, you could be doing something else with that inevitable action. So, sometimes the net just ends up being the worst of all options. But, I mean, in the early game, a pretty early net is not too terrible when you have less actions to consider. So, okay, we want to probably do a quick gander in all the shops just to see if we have any quick upgrades that we can... Okay, these are part of the new sling things. And I'm going to have to look at them because I'm not accustomed to the new stuff. So these are just stones. Stones do 25. These are lead ones, which do an extra 25, and it looks like they also have a increased chance for the range attacks to stun, stagger, and daze, which is pretty good. But they obviously cost a lot more. I wonder if... Obviously, I haven't checked out the game at all yet. I'm playing it brand new. I'm wondering if you can loot stones off the ground. I imagine that you can. Sling bullets do significantly more damage and actually deal body part damage and armor penetration. Those will be good for fighting bandits, as most of the bandits in the game wear armor. Okay, I don't think I want to grab anything from this guy. Usually what I'll do is go to the tailor in town, see if there's any quick clothing upgrades. Just because usually the attire that you get at the beginning of the game is not the strongest. Okay, she's got a... What are these things called? Unique? Or like heirloom, I guess you could call them. They're like the starting equipment that you get for each character. She gets dodge chance and accuracy. Rending resistance is not that important, but I guess dodge chance, a 1% dodge chance early is decent, and accuracy is not bad for helping with not missing early. But besides that, the Norse belt is alright, but her other equipment's pretty mediocre at best. Let's check this guy out. So I'm assuming unless the tailor has the slings, this guy might have them. Because he usually has the range stuff. Okay, he still only has the wooden equipment. Okay. Guess most of our equipment's going to be coming from the tailor. Okay. Yeah. I think we have a better sling at the moment, right? Makeshift sling versus... They're still in the same tier range, as you can see the little one up in the right corner. But I think ours has got probably slightly better stats. Same crit chance, same accuracy. It's got a diverse in daze and stagger chance, but it is lower than just the full stagger. Same skill, energy cost, same cooldown duration. But also doesn't have the body part damage on it. So yeah, I would say that the makeshift sling is definitely worse than our starter wild sling, but not by much. And there's the sling pouch we might want to consider picking up, especially if we're planning on doing mostly a sling build. And then we got the peasant staff sling, which has 1 more damage, and then also has higher armor penetration, body part, and has a higher stagger chance and higher stun chance, but also doesn't have a crit chance and has a slightly more negative accuracy, and then also has lower cooldown duration and higher skill energy cost, which isn't going to matter at this exact moment, but I'm assuming that the sling uses, which I haven't checked if they added a new tree for the sling. I think it just uses the range weapon tree. Yeah, it says sling on it now. Yeah, so it's just a third option for ranged equipment that plays a little bit differently. So energy cost is going to be somewhat detrimental while playing a range build because of take aim basically being able to be used every other turn. So you're going to be using a lot of energy. So this weapon is pretty costly for someone who's trying to do more of a main focused sling build as opposed to what we currently have, which might be better for maining a sling at the moment, just because it has the lower energy cost. But in the early game, it's obviously not going to matter as much because everything kind of dies faster because there isn't as much armor on the early units or enemies. Most of the bandits aren't equipped very well in the early game, so it's not really going to matter that much. We could hypothetically upgrade this, but I don't really want to spend our 180 gold on such a kind of side grade, even though I feel like it is more of an upgrade, but it's kind of just a minor upgrade. We'll grab a sling pouch though, because I'm going to want to main a sling build to try out this new stuff. Let's open it up and put the rocks inside. Okay, so it's got room for a total of 4 ammunition, which is a little bit better than the archery pouches, because I think the first archery pouches only hold... Oh, I think they even nerfed them. No, that's right, 2. But it technically holds the same amount because the ammunition for... Yeah, it's technically the same amount because these are only in stacks of 10 and the arrows are in stacks of 20. So they come out to the same holding capacity. It just looks like it holds more. Okay, what do we have for equipment? We could upgrade our peasant's cap, which will give us some head protection. We got actually leather bracers are pretty good. That's another additional item on top of the Norse belt. This is good. The pointy shoes, the old shirt definitely is something we want to replace. Probably grab the leather vest. Okay. Because we could get the peasant's shoes as well. Maybe we'll hold on to the pointy... Jeez, mine are already beaten up so badly. Okay, we'll grab the leather vest because we definitely want more of a chest protection, because I'm not sure how this game does it, but I've played a lot of RPGs and usually that do body part damage. Used to play an MMO a long time ago called Dark Ages of Camelot that had targeted body part management, and the percentage chance of hitting the torso is always much higher, statistically hit chance, because I'm assuming how this game does it. I don't know the exact hidden calculations that go on behind the scenes, but I know in Dark Ages of Camelot there was like a 60 or 65% chance of hitting the chest, and then all the other body parts had a slightly lower chance, with the head being like 1 or 2% or something like that. But playing this game, I have seen a lot of torso damage happening, and usually torso equipment has the highest protection on it in its tier range, so I can see that that's probably the case. Okay, so we got the chest piece. We got 56 gold left. problem is this character doesn't start with herbal remedies, which are the healings, or like, what are they called? Healing? I think they're called healing salves, not herbal remedies. I think herbal remedies are the ones that help with pain. But we can sell this to the general vendor to get a little bit more money. And I might sell the... No, I need a dagger on me because of how this character works, because we're going to need to skin beasties to get the body parts to use on the bone charm. So we're going to need that dagger as a additional thing. So maybe we'll also get dagger talents as our one-handed melee weapon for cave ventures, so that we have something to equipped with the torch, since we need to carry around a dagger with us anyways. Okay, so I'll go quickly talk to the general goods guy. And we'll sell off the antlers, and we're gonna get a decent price for it too. Yeah, he doesn't have any negative modifiers besides the overall demand. Pretty good. Okay, so we're gonna get close to almost full price on it, which is nice. He's got some accessories. I don't think it's worth purchasing the rings in the early game, because there's a pretty high chance to find them off bandits. So I think I'd rather do that. And the stats that they give you are not so highly sought over that we need them that early in the game, because it's just health restoration, which I'm pretty sure doesn't happen when engaged in combat, only happens outside of combat. So let's get some water from the well while we're here. And we'll head up the herbalist. He saw me coming and was like, nah, I'm gonna go back inside. Okay, so we definitely want to grab some healing salves early. A lot of the other characters will start with some. This character does not. They start with leeches instead. I think I'm just going to sell the leeches just to get them out of my inventory, because they're good at... They're not bad at improving body parts, but not as much as using healing salves, and leeches are easy to come by because you can find them in the rivers if you dive in and go scrounging for them. Usually I like grabbing always having 2 splints on me, but we can make those by crafting them. That was added in the last patch, or maybe the patch before that patch. We can... I forgot to sell the map. We can sell the map now to get a little extra money, clean up our inventory a bit. Definitely want to get this recipe at some point. Especially we're going to need that to make the splints. I don't quite have the money. Maybe I'll have it after selling this map, though. And then I will do... Oh, I should have... Yeah, that's one thing I forgot to do. I should grab the quest that the herbalist gives you. Because if you complete it, you get a couple extra healing cells. And I think he also gives you some herbal remedies and... or bandages, I think. Which is another thing that we need. Because I only have the one on me. So, I didn't show what the quest was, because I don't like dwelling too long on stuff, but Argamon's one of them. Okay, there is stones on the ground. How many do you get per pickup? 5? Is it like random? Let me check. Yeah, it seems to be... I'm assuming somewhere between 1 and 5. Okay. So we got our ammunition thing picked out. I wonder if the developers finally put a recipe in for making arrows, because that was one of the things I constantly complaining about when I was playing my archery build. Even though it's a lot easier to get arrows than it once was, but one of my old archer builds, I was having problems keeping on top of getting... I can't remember exactly all the herbs. One sec. How do I access the quest menu again? Forget all the hotkeys. Inventory. Okay, we'll do this. Herb gathering. Pretty sure it was... yeah, Fleetwood, Argamon, Spirit, Mint. So, the Argamon you can find on the road, any road outside the city. The Argamon, one always spawns, the one we picked up. One always spawns right here. I have not had a file where it doesn't spawn there. It always spawns there. And then you can sometimes find the Spearmint, not always, on the outskirts of town, on the starting tile. Otherwise, you have to go to a field tile. And sometimes if you get unlucky with your start, there isn't a whole lot of... if you have a lot of forest around the starting town, it's hard to get a clean field tile, but we do have one right here, so we can go looking there for Spearmint. Also going to pick up some lentils, because lentil soup is an easy food source in the early game for keeping your hunger sated. So we will go about looking for those. We're going to need leeks to make up the rest of what we need for that recipe. Okay, it looks like I may have gotten unlucky and not found the spearmint on the outside of the map. So we're gonna have to go over one tile. Should have lined up better to come into town and sell this map. We want it out of the inventory. How much am I getting for it? 2 gold? Not too bad. I hate that it sells for so little in comparison to what you have to buy them for. That's why I don't typically buy the maps. I'll just explore by myself. Oh yeah. There's a leak. Oh yeah, I should consider speccing since we're doing the range thing. Let's take aim so we have a damage output for our sling. Actually, I'll keep the search on 1. What are we gonna do? Do we want to get a spear as a backup, probably? I guess that's why you get the net. Impactful lunge. Okay, this one we don't want that because we don't care about gap closing, because we're just gonna wait for things that come to us. Yeah, I don't think we're gonna worry about the net thing, so I think picking up nail down for when things come into melee range will be the best option. So we'll also grab this so that we kind of have our combat talents sorted. Oh, I forgot what her passive is. I know that has something to do with her bone charm. Start the game with resourcefulness already learnt, and a bone charm that allows the character to sacrifice special hunting trophies. Sacrificing bone charm bonuses can be used to empower killing respective animals. Each character level increases the threshold for activating negative effects caused by hunger. Okay, so she's better at wilderness survival through her passive, and then she also gains additional passive effects based on the animal parts that she sacrifices into the bone charm. Gotcha. Wait, there's the spearmint. How much I mean, we're pretty much filled up on stones. I don't need to pick up anymore. They have littered them everywhere. Well, at least we'll know that we'll never be out of ammunition if we need it. Even though the other ammunition is definitely better than stones, but at least for the early game, we will be amply supplied by stones. And we needed Fleetwood. And that's everything, right? Oh. Are we doubling up on them? Because I think that was the talent that it said in my passive. Survival? Yeah, we get resourcefulness. Resourcefulness gives you a chance to double harvest crafting items, which is pretty awesome. So we've gotten a bunch of extra herbs while picking up. Okay. I want to get back into town before the sun sets so that we can hand in this quest. I like and dislike this zoomed out. So I'm not used to playing on this aspect ratio, so everything's like much farther out than I'm accustomed to. I feel like it'll help me tactically in combat, but it's kind of disorienting me. Because I'm used to being more focused in on the character. Okay. Free 2 healing cells. I like having 4 on me at all times. How much is a bandage? Okay, I want a second bandage. Because I just don't want to be caught with my pants down. Bleeding a bunch. Because bleeding can be the death of you in the early game. And at any point in the game. Bleeding is an annoying status condition. Okay. So, usually what I do... It might be worth saving right now so I don't have to do all of this over again, too. Because it's pretty easy to die in the early game. So we'll get a... do we have enough money for this? Yeah, we do. I'll get a room for the night just so that we can save. So that if I do die going out venturing, we at least come back to this exact moment. I hopefully shouldn't die, but, you know, I'm not used to using the sling. And also this character I'm not too familiar with either, so I don't know. A lot of the other characters have a passive that gives them a lot more passive stats earlier on, so... We might not have the, you know, a little bit over the power level in the beginning. So what I normally do when I start a match is I obviously always go to the herbalist guy, grab the herb quest, go around, collect those herbs so we can get the extra healing salves. Next thing I always do is go down here to find the cobbler's wooden tool. I don't know what it's called, the thing that you get from it, but there's a broken down cart on the road that's been attacked by bandits, and it has a tool that he's ordered in from another town on it, and he will reward you for getting it back to him. So that's a little chunk of change in the early game, and as well as some experience for completing... I don't think you get any for completing the quest, but you get it for scouting the location as well as killing the bandits that are standing around the cart. And usually the bandits aren't super... Okay, it's letting me know about the new... I don't care about the hints. I can figure it out myself. It's telling me about the new mechanics around the nighttime and the lighting mechanics with the torch that I don't know how it works yet, but we'll figure it out as it gets darker. might be a detriment to me, because usually I don't usually care about whether or not it's day or nighttime, besides the fact that shops aren't open at night. So usually I'm not too concerned with moving around at night, but I guess with this new mechanic in the game, maybe night will be a little too dangerous, especially for someone like me who's running a range build. Might hurt me more to be out at night. But for the... they might have the counter... brain farting a little bit. It might have the counter position that I think the enemies also can't see as well at night, and they also have to carry torches. So maybe the fact if I don't actually have a torch on me, I can actually creep up on them. So I wonder if he's going to bring the stealth mechanics back, because this game had stealth mechanics very early on, but he ended up ditching them because they just weren't working out very well. You see we're bleeding. And this is where that action economy thing comes into hand, so I can choose the bandage right now, or I can choose to attack, but he's gonna get a free attack on me for doing that. We kind of got unlucky, so it's a good thing I saved. We got two-handed bandits. But it looks like we're gonna win. Perfect. Okay. This is why I like carrying multiple splints on me. And we did take a lot of chest damage. That's why I wanted to get the better armor for the chests, instead of getting the better peasant's cap for our head. Okay, all healed up nice. Pick up some of our ammunition we used. Yeah, we're still good on ammunition. So we could grab the nails, because that's part of some decent crafting recipes. So is a rope. We get more rope too. We can use the rope to craft ourselves some splints now, because otherwise we would have needed the recipe to use hemp to create hemp rope for the recipes. Reading anything in the game gives you a light amount of XP, so you should always, if you see any sort of letters or books or anything, you don't need to carry them on you, but always read them so that you can get the little chunk of XP. And we get an extra bandage and some more nails. So this is the thing that the carpenter wants, a wooden plane. I'm assuming it's for tanning leather. I think that's what these things were made for back in the day, but I'm not entirely sure, because I'm not the most experienced person on medieval craftsmanship. Okay, it is noticeably dark. Okay, let's grab these sticks. I'm gonna have to drop... I don't think we need a spearmint on us anymore. Grab some sticks and stuff so that we can craft some more splints. So in case we get injured again, we can recover from it pretty well. Splint. I'll grab another 2 sticks and use the other rope to make another splint. And then we will have the adequate amount of splints on us, because I usually like carrying 2 around on me at all times. Sometimes a 3rd one if I'm going into a dungeon. Because you're going to be fighting a lot more enemies if you're dungeon delving than if you're just world exploring. And while you're world exploring, you can do what we're doing right now and craft some more. When you're in the dungeon, you can't really go about finding the sticks and rope and such to actually craft some more splints. Okay, so we could go back to town, but it's nighttime, so we can't hand in the quest anyways. I don't have a whole lot of inventory space at the moment, mainly because it's getting taken up by this hunting net and this torch, and also the dagger, which I don't typically carry a additional weapon around on me, but we need it for this character for the skinning purposes. Problem with hunting early on, because I would love to do that so that we could get her abilities working properly, is that a long time ago in the early stages of Stone Shard, I think even during when they added the troll into the game, but before the troll was added, the first things that you would fight in the game were actually wolves. They were weak enough that you could actually fight them, but they've buffed the wolves up and made them kind of a higher tier unit. A lot of the woodland animals are all a lot more powerful than they used to be. Because I remember you could actually fight a boar pretty early on, but a boar is actually pretty scary if you don't have the right equipment to fight it. As well as the moose used to be doable kind of in the early mid game, where now it's more of a like late mid game unit to fight. But in the last couple of patches, they added in these wild dogs, which have kind of taken over the role of the wolf, or retaken back the moniker of what the old wolves used to be. So, jeez, yeah, this new dark mechanic. This is such a low light circle. So I'm pretty much just gonna get into aggro range of anything. I don't really want to be on one of these. I guess at nighttime you really don't want to be on these open plain tiles because the dark radius is so short. It's actually better to be in the forest tiles because you're already limited with what you can see with the trees blocking most of your sight. So I guess it's actually better to explore the forests at night. Okay, there's definitely an question mark on this tile. So in the middle of the tile, there will always be some sort of location. Got jump scared there for a second. Not used to... I think they may have changed the noise on the level up or something. Or maybe because I'm so zoomed out, I'm not used to it being like that. Okay, we got a cave here. I was kind of hoping for a bandit camp, because that would allow us to save as well as get a little extra loot. Let's see how dark it is in the cave. It's a little bit darker. I guess because the lights are streaming in through holes in it visually. As you can see, there's some light over here too. It isn't completely dark. I was expecting it to be like pitch black. Hey, we got bats. That may be too many. I don't want to fight that many. And they double bleeded me. That's not good. Luckily, we got that extra bandage. Oh yeah, we got a level 2. I forgot about that. Let's heal up a little. And okay, what are we doing build wise? We're doing sling build. Sling is gonna rely on perception, right? Perception grants accuracy, armor penetration, gives vision and bonus range, and crit and miracle chance. And I found out that miracle chance is just a different word for critting with magic. So it's just crit, just a different type of crit. Either that, or we could do strength to make our attacks hit harder, which might be what we want to do. And I mean, she's already got points in strength base, so I think maybe that's what we'll do. We'll make it so that we can do more damage. The bigger issue is that we don't get the huge benefit from it because we're not using a shield. Because strength also gives benefit to blocking and block chance and block power. And block power is like a small pool of available damage reduction that when you do hit your block chance, it depletes from, and then it slowly kind of replenishes over time, while also in combat, but outside of combat, that you can essentially take less damage from. And it was basically to nerf shields, because shield builds way back in the day, if you got enough block chance, you could pretty much just tank everything. So it was just a way to tweak the shield mechanic slightly so that it wasn't such a desirable way to build your character. And I think it thematically makes sense, like, to the real life world where you know, you're kind of depleting your stamina by using your shield to block, and so you're not going to always be able to get it back into position in time or whatever, as kind of thematically relating it somewhat to real life. Or like, yeah, I think that's the most apt way to compare it. But anyways, we won't explore that cave. Caves are usually a little bit over the curve power line wise, because the unless you get a bandit cave, and I don't think that one is, you have to fight the rock eaters, I think they're called, which are like these like weird abomination slug things, and they're a little too difficult in the early game to go about slaying with such low tier equipment that we have at the moment. Because this game kind of relies mostly on skills and what equipment you're wearing. So, yeah. Oh, I guess I should spec my points. I was talking about it. So we'll get 1 point into strength. I think we'll level strength until we get to 15, because there's a bonus per every 5 that you put into one of the talents. Or skills. Or stats. Yeah, stats. I think that's the right word. You get a big bonus that are in the lower part of the text here, where you get the bonus body part damage, crit efficiency, which is how much damage you do when you crit, and armor damage, which is your weapon dealing durability damage to your opponent's equipment, which isn't as important for the player character as it is for the enemy characters, because when we kill an enemy, it's just dead. We don't have to deal with it again. But for us, it's a little bit more important because we're statically here the entirety of the game. So enemies with good armor damage is bad for us, but us with good armor damage, a little less impactful because we only have to deal with an enemy once. So something I learned from playing Dungeons and Dragons. There's certain stats that the DM has at their disposal that is much more impactful than if the players have it. Okay, so there's a question mark in this tile. Usually in the early game, besides doing the Herbalist quest, this quest, and there's a quest here that you can do, but I usually will delay it for a little bit. I like scouting out the top world without doing the quests that go into the dungeons. Just because a lot of these overland encounters are just going to be against very unequipped bandits to get some little bits of extra XP, as well as they all have a chance to drop some early game equipment that you might be able to use if you get lucky. Usually they just drop their weapons, but sometimes they'll drop rings and amulets, and sometimes they'll drop special loot, like stuff that can be sold for a decent amount. Okay, we got a bandit camp. That guy's got a pitchfork, which is a two-handed weapon, so we have to be a little bit careful. I'm also gonna heal my body while we still have some distance between us. So he's going to be able to... I should have probably switched to my ranged weapon. Keep forgetting to do that. He also has... The pitchfork is considered a spear class weapon like ours. We have an heirloom spear. So ours is going to be a little bit more powerful than his. But he's also going to use the same skill against us. His caused us to bleed. Did we hurt his leg. So if you are newer to the game and you're watching, you can always right click on an enemy, inspect them to see what you've been doing to them. You can see kind of a rough estimate of where their HP's at, energy, their armor durability, which I assume, I don't know if it does the same calculations as we do, because how the player character works might be a little bit different, because we obviously have all of our different body parts. They might have the same stuff because they get the same injuries as we do, but I don't know about armor, because when it's saying armor durability, maybe it's just that they don't have a armor set on them, and when we do armor damage, it's to a large percent of armor rather than how our armor works, which every individual piece has a durability, and so when they do an attack and it hits us, it has a chance of damaging our equipment. Just something to consider. Okay, we have a bleed on him, so he's just gonna bleed out running away. Okay. We'll pick up the pitchfork just so I can look at it. Don't normally ever use the pitchfork because it's considered one of the lower tier spears, and usually if you're playing a spear character, you're going to be playing one that starts with a spear, and usually they have a spear that's better than these tier 1 peasant weapons. But it's not too bad. Only does 1 less damage. Ours clearly has a lot more stats on it, but not bad for early spear, all things considering. I think there's one other early spear. Uh-oh. From the sounds like I aggroed 2 different peasants. Yeah. Alright, one's an archer, so we can kind of juke out him a little bit. And he hit his buddy. And we can just hide behind his buddy as we approach. I would rather not lose the XP on the forklift, or the pitchfork guy, but I don't want the archer pelting me while I chase after him. Alright. We good. Pretty heavily damaged. It's not good that our cowl is beat up as much as it is, because it allows damage to get in on our head a lot more efficiently. I have to remember to pick up some more rocks when we go back on. There is a chance that the bandit that we attacked will turn around and come back, but it's also a chance he'll just run off map. Usually I don't mind picking up a pot and carrying it around with me, but I don't know if we're going to have much room. Oh, and I don't have any lockpicks on me, that's bad. That's okay. We'll come back. Oh yeah, will sell for a little bit of money. I will pick up some bowls though. Probably both of them. Could harvest these 2. We can make some lentil soup. So I believe that's all you need for lentil soup, right? Yeah. We just need the water in the pot. Do that so we have something when we're hungry, and we'll pour our water back into our pouch. Okay, we're almost hungry. Pretty beat up though, so we're probably not going to want to do too much more map exploration. We're going to want to head back to town, but since this is a bandit camp, we do have access to a rest spot so we can sleep and save the game. So now all of our venturing over here and over here won't get destroyed if we actually die on the way back. Which happens a lot if you're not very good at this game. And even if you are decently good at the game, still can happen, because all it takes is an enemy hitting you one too many times in a row and not missing and getting lucky with its crits or bonus damage or bleed effects or a variety of different unfortunate things that can happen. Okay. We'll just head back to town since the sun is back up. Shopkeepers will be out. Should probably switch back to my sling as my main weapon. Grab some stones. Harvest this up. Free up an extra space in the inventory. Okay. Now, I don't remember exactly what this quest gives. I believe it's 100 gold. No. Is it? Not sure what he gives. I know he gives you... Yeah, he gives you some alcohol. I remember that. He gives you some mead. Don't remember. I think he might give you 50 gold. There's something he gives you for it. I know that. I'm pretty sure he gives you some alcohol. I found this plane at the main cart near the village. Were you expecting a delivery? Would you look at that? I was indeed inspecting it, but the cart broke down. My new plane was left behind. I was about to go retrieve it myself, actually. Well, I did it for you, so too bad. Thanks a lot. Here's for your trouble. Yep, alcohol and 25 gold. I think at one point it was 50 gold, but I know that the game creator kind of nerfed the economy a little bit. Thanks a lot. Here's for trouble. Okay, cool. Oh yeah, we don't have anything to sell him. Do we have anything made of wood? Is this made of wood? I'm pretty sure our spear is, though. No? Hey, maybe it's considered a metal equipment? Okay. This is weird playing a range build and I don't use this guy at all. Okay. We're gonna have to do some repairs, but I don't have a whole lot of money. So we're gonna have to sell what little stuff we currently have. How much can I get for nails? 3 gold's not terrible. Alright, we'll sell off the liquor and the candelabra that we got. I might also sell this bottle of oil, even though you can use it to craft one of the herbal stuff. But I don't think we have the recipe, so we'll sell that off for now. Maybe we'll sell this hunting net too. Don't think I'm actually going to use it. It's not bad in the early game, but we're not doing a spear build, and I don't think I'll ever grab the talent for it in the spear tree. There's this one, precise hits, which grants spear strikes against targets affected by the immobilization or net armor penetration body part damage. I was maybe considered doing it, but I don't think we're going to have the action economy to go about throwing a net at someone for a round when we could just hit them with a rock. So I think we're just going to sell the net. It's definitely a decent option to have the nets if you're doing a spear build, like a mainly focused spear build as a range option. But since we have this as our range option, I don't think we're going to need this. And it gives me a little extra gold in the early game, and in the early game you're kind of held back by how much gold you can muster in the very beginning, so until you can start actually completing some of the dungeon quests. So let's sell the alcohol to you. We got 80 gold to play with. We're gonna definitely need to do some repairing because my helmet's all beat up. Pretty sure my shoes are also almost there. I don't need to repair that. Let's see, my spear's still in decent quality, so I'll hold off on that. It's only taking 2 durability damage. And as I said in the early game, money is a problem, so I can't afford to go repairing everything right now. So let's get the helmet repaired for sure. Yeah, that's going to take a lot of my money. Luckily that isn't too much there. Usually you want to repair sooner than later, because I think when the repair cost dips down below 50% and the armor gets the red penalty on it, the cost of repairing things is much higher, because it's considered heavily damaged. Yeah, the early game is just so bad. That's so costly too. Okay, well, we'll just repair up everything and there goes all of our money. So I don't have room. I think we might still technically have the inn for a bit. So I'm not sure how it calculates what time of the day it's no longer available to you. I should be able to still save from yesterday, hopefully. Okay, we need to drink because we're getting thirsty. And we'll fill back up our water. And then we will see if we can save. And if we can't, we can just go back to the bandit. Oh yeah, we don't have the money. Oh, that's so bad. I would have loved to pick up some lockpicks so that we can open up that chest that we found. Because that will probably give us a... Okay, we still have access to the bed. That is good. So. We got 2 splints, which is what I want. I would love 2 more healing things, but we're not going to be able to afford that. Usually I like having an extra bandage besides just the 1, but that's fine. We still have the rough meat, which I need to eat because it's going to expire by the end of the day. We'll be... We have 16 hunger. It won't be a waste to eat it right now, and it'll give us the hunger resist. So we won't get as hungry as fast for 120 turns. So we'll eat that. Don't need this Aggermon on me, so I might sell that to the herbalist real quick. Just to... I think he gives you like 2 or 3 gold for it. Usually I don't go about selling these things, but you know, it's the early game. Every little bit of money is useful. At 3 gold, not too bad. Okay. Definitely gonna want to come back and get the rope recipe, and then eventually just pick that up, even though I never usually make the smoke mix. It's a pain reducing item, but I think I've always liked the herbal astrax a lot better, because the smoking mix has a lot more negative effects on it than the herbal astrax intoxication chance. Though, like, the effects of the smoking mix is a little bit more minor, because this does build up over the 40 turns decently fast, but you get the coughing debuff sometimes, and there's like a bunch of other, like, and it's harder to use in combat. It's kind of better to use it as a pain reducer outside of combat, where the herbal astract you can spend around if you need to manage your pain in the middle of combat much more effectively than the smoke mix does. And then the spore sponge is also a pretty decent item, but you cannot use that at all if you're in danger, because it's going to put you to sleep. And then while you're waiting for the sleep rounds to expire, you know, you're going to get ambushed by enemies. So you can't use that unless you are 100% sure that there aren't going to be any enemies creeping up on you. Okay, so we've fixed the inventory layout a little bit, organized it a bit. We can probably resave again before we leave. I'm going to do a little bit more map exploration because I don't feel confident at the moment about going inside of one of the dungeons. We do have one skill from leveling last level that we could put into something, but I'm not quite sure what I want to do with that yet, so we're just going to hold on to it. We also could go to the barracks and grab a extra piece of equipment from them, because a long time ago, before the game developer added in the stealing mechanics, as you can see, this is red, so anything that you take out of these is going to be considered stealing. You used to be able to just go around town and loot everything, and then you could sell it and make a decent chunk of cash, but eventually you put stealing mechanics in the game. And in the very old build, you could go into here and they had all this armory stuff, and you could literally loot all this stuff that's sitting in here and get some decent early change. But also, if you wanted to go a specific build, you were able, basically this was the early game where you could pretty much grab any early game equipment you wanted. If you wanted to do a bow build on somebody who didn't have a bow, if you wanted to do a two-handed build on someone who didn't have a two-hander, this was the place. As well as you could get about 50 gold worth of money in the early game just from looting that, but you can't do that anymore. So instead, when it got put in place, I think that the community, I'm not too in touch with the Stone Shard community, but I'm assuming they were bitching a bit. So the game developer made it so you can talk to this guy, and you can ask for one, pretty much any of what would be in here, so that you can essentially switch to a piece of equipment that you don't currently have on whatever starter character you have, which is cool. But I preferred the old thing where we could just loot the armory. I guess you could technically still loot the armory, but then you're gonna have all the guards come after you, so, and then you won't be able to go into the city. So don't really want to do that. Okay, so we're gonna do some exploration. Unfortunately, I can't hit up this because we don't have the lockpick. But we can we could hit up to the lone farm and also look to see if there's any question marks in this area. Get the XP for exploring, so we should probably get to level 3, if not close to level 4 by the time we head back into town. Okay, we got the positive optimism buff, which is not too bad. Those are managed by your psyche stats. In one of my previous stream playthroughs of this game, when they added, he changed how these work. They've always been in the game, but he's made some modifications. Now he's kind of split them into these 3 different categories, where before they were just a static 0 to 100. Now they are split into 3 different categories, so those all deplete at different rates, and then they have a total of 100%. In that one playthrough, I was complaining about it a lot because I was playing a melee character, and these both drop significantly faster to effects that you get while in melee, where ranged characters don't get hit as frequently or are in situations where they would have these drop as often. So we might not have to worry about it so much in this playthrough, but yeah, I have mixed feelings on how these systems work at the moment, and I did go on a bit of a tangent in one of those streams near the end of it, where I talk about how I would fix this a little bit just to make it a little bit more forgiving to newer players while still kind of maintaining the negative penalty of it, so that, because it's always good to have annoying, I even phrase it in this way, it's good to have things that annoy the player, but you don't want to annoy the player too much or they'll put the game down. And this game is quite punishing to people who are brand new to it, and if they just don't have the patience to actually like learn all the mechanics and understand all the little things that are working against them, they could very easily just go, fuck it, and, I don't want to play this anymore, and put the game down. And I don't want that to happen, because this is a really cool game, and I would love to see more people playing it. Increase the community. But yeah, there's my quick fix solution to it is just to essentially make it similar to how the immunity system works, because the immunity system goes over 100% to about 120, maybe 125. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head, but these are on the same 100 scaling ratio. So my quick fix is maybe not go up to 125, but go up to 115 on both of these, and then just add in maybe a fourth category, or just have the 3 categories and add a little bit of extra percentile to each, like an extra 5% to each of the 3 categories, to equate out to 115%, which gives a little bit more wiggle room, because once these 2 fall below 50%, then you start getting the chance of getting a negative mental state rather than a positive one. And I think for newer players, that will just allow them to not easily fall into the threshold of managing these 2 psyche stats. Because I guarantee you a majority of newer players aren't even going to be aware that those exist or how they work. And then they're just going to do all the wrong things to get their mental state in a bad situation, and they're just going to end up having a rough time of the early game. And the early game is kind of where the most things can go wrong for someone. So having a bit of a reprieve, at least with the mental states, would probably be nice for newer players to the game. Someone who's more of a veteran like me, I can get I do a pretty decent job managing them now, but I was having a rough time of it in that one playthrough when they added in the new mental states, because with the new 3 categories, they also made it a little bit easier to gain the negatives, as well as a lot of the things that you could use to recover, because they're split into 3 categories. You used to just be able to like spam eat some type of food or something, and then you'd be at 100% easily. But now that there's 3 categories, the food only helps replenish the diet category, so you actually have to like do a balance of different things. And I think that the game could also just you know, as the game gets more stuff added to it, because one of the ways to recover this is just to hang out in town, or in the caravan once you unlock the caravan, to help recover. If there's more things to do inside of the caravan or in town, but mainly the caravan, because the late game or the mid game you're gonna have the caravan, the more like cool stuff you can do at the caravan will probably, you know, compensate, and then maybe you wouldn't have to do my little strategy of the 15%. But as it stands right now, the stuff that you do around the caravan isn't engaging enough to warrant you to stay there very long, so you'll probably just back out on the trail looking for loot and stuff, which means that you don't get the breathing time to actually replenish some of your sanity. Okay, so here at this location, this is one of the static locations. Static locations always show up on the map as a structure that you can see whenever you're like on the outskirts of it. Obviously we have some of the map filled in because of the map that we had in the that we got at the very beginning of the game. But even if you're just doing regular exploration, you will see it on the edge of your fog of war, sitting just out of sight, or when you enter the tile you'll be able to see it as well. As we see right now, you can see the outline of the static tile while we're standing on it. Static tiles are they're not always put in the exact same place, but they usually spawn always kind of roughly in the same area on the map. And they're usually either quest related or they're just, you know, static lore drop type stuff that is. Because if you actually like if you're the kind of person who's more into gaming because you like being invested in the lore, I always like the look of these plates over these ones. So I'm gonna grab this one. Because these ones kind of look like a plate, but they function like a bowl. If you're more into the lore, again, in the situation where I need a lockpick, that's okay. We'll come back here. There's always good stuff in that chest. I just don't have the money to get lockpicks. If you're more in the getting invested in the world type thing, which I'm not that type of gamer, this place actually has some lore. I don't know how I came across that information because I'm not much of a lore junkie when it comes to playing games. I'm more of a gameplay first type person. I enjoy the math and everything behind the game. I enjoy like mid-maxing. I love learning how to play a game as best as I possibly can, and the lore of a game is usually something I reserve to just some fun extra knowledge that I can blurt out when I'm talking to somebody about something, but it's not my cup of tea where I'm the kind of lore master where I'm going to sit there and try to like know exactly about all the races and all of the fighting, internal politics, and the love story between two characters in the universe, and it's just not my cup of tea. But there is a handful of that in this game, if that's what you're into. This being that this, I'm pretty sure, got burnt down, and you can actually talk to somebody in the town about this, and I think that dialogue option only appears after you've visited the lone farmstead. But I'm not a big person to go through all the dialogue options in a game, because I'm more about getting stuff done than getting lost in the universe of the world. Okay, so we got a question mark over here. This will probably either be a bandits camp or a hunting ground. And if it's a hunting ground, that could be useful for us. It might not be useful this exact moment, but since we require, it looks like a bandit's tent. I can see a barrel and the tent just off the corner of our map here. Oh no, it's a wasp infested, because you can see that, and now you can hear them. Yeah, wasps are a little too dangerous in the early game to go messing around with, so I'm just gonna leave that one around. Wasps are just annoying because they have very high dodge rate, so you're gonna miss a lot of the time. As well as they... I don't know if I like the sound effect. Like, it makes sense, but it's very oddly close to the same sound that you get when you are hungry. So it just threw me off for a moment when I heard it. Okay, so there's one other quest that I didn't mention about, but we can start collecting for. But we don't have a lot of room at the moment. We can, however, craft something. I can get rid of one bowl. I don't usually like carrying two on me anyways. I usually only carry one on me, but... Okay, so we're gonna pick up the battle cleavers. Because I forgot to mention, the blacksmith in town has a quest for collecting 3 swords, and he will give you full price for them if you bring them to him, and he'll do that only once, but he will give you 150 gold for 3 of any of the 2 early game swords, one of them being the battle cleaver, and the other one is the peasant's something sword, I think. I can't remember the full name of the weapon, but it's the homemade, I think it's the homemade peasant's sword. I think that's what it's called. Either of those 2 swords, you bring it to him. He will give you he'll give you 50 gold per, but you have to give them all 3 of them at the same time. He'll give you a total of 150 gold, which is where you can kind of catch back up on your money depletion. As you can see, we have like no money. So, totally forgot to mention about that one. It's just something that I kind of automatically do as I'm scouting the map in the early game, because that's part of my little early game routine, is get the wooden plane from here, scout around while I'm doing it, finish the herb quest at the very beginning of the game, do some scouting, check the lone farmstead. Usually a lot of the characters I play start with a lockpick, or I find one pretty early on, so I don't have to buy one, and we can open all the chests, but didn't this game. Sometimes I can purchase one early if I have extra money, but we don't have that luxury. And then eventually hit up the mill at some point and finish that quest. Because usually you don't want to do the mill quests too early, because the reward for it is some food. And that's an early shovel. I will mark this on my map just because I might want to come back and grab that shovel. And I don't want to dig up the gravestone, because sometimes you can find some good early game equipment, but it's also going to be dug up damaged regardless. So you're going to have to repair it, and we don't have the money to do that. And you do get negative sanity for digging up graves, so I don't really want to do that at the moment. But you do, I don't know if it is in the game anymore, because I don't usually dig up graves, but I have found some of these unique heirloom type stuff, and they're usually close to end game equipment inside of a grave before. So if you're the type of player who likes digging up graves, that's something you can look forward to, possibly. I don't know. It's been a while since I've spent a lot of time digging up graves. But it definitely can be worth it in the early game to do it when your equipment is on the lower end. Okay, I'm assuming this one's going to be a hunting grounds. because it's in the Alpine, but it also could be a bandit spot. And I'm assuming we're going to be able to see it if it is, because they will have a fire there, so it'll light up on my screen as soon as I can spot it. Mossy ledge. Is that a cave? I'm going to assume that's a cave, right? Oh, there it is. Yep, it's a cave. Okay. What type of cave is it? Is it a bandit cave? No, this... And I have the sound of the bats, so there's a bat that aggroed on me as we came in here. We're gonna leave. That looks like a cave eater, or a rock eater location. I don't want to mess with that. If we can find a cave with the bandits in it, I might explore it. I might not be able to fully explore it, because the bandit caves always have a boss. Well, all the caves have a boss dwelling somewhere within the cave. So it's going to be a slightly more powerful version of whatever enemy type is inside of it. Is these fireflies? Oh, snake. Snake! Okay, it's supposed to be fireflies that we're seeing, yeah. Ah, this guy's got a torch. You're giving yourself away with that, buddy. Yeah, so the sound that you're hearing right now is him getting immobilized over and over again. Uh-oh. Okay, he's bleeding. We got this. Okay. That's cool that the torch still stays light on it. Does it, looks like it went out when we picked it up. Do you have to have... I'm guessing you have to have something to ignite it, right? Oh, okay, I get it. I'm guessing... Yeah. I'm guessing I can't hit the ignite. You don't need to have fire on you. I just can't ignite it, and it's a grayed out option because it would have to be equipped to my hand. And since I'm using a two-hander, it's not going to go into that slot, so I can't do that. Okay, that makes sense. And I imagine what happens is while it's on the ground, the durability is slowly going down. That's why that one was at 6. And then once the durability hits 0, it no longer is ignited. As I say, this is a new mechanic. I don't really know how it works. I'm just doing guesswork based on just my limited knowledge. I hear buzzing. I have a feeling that this is a hive. That's another bandit camp with a hive in it. Yeah, we're not going to mess with it. I would like to explore it, but it's dark, so I can't really get a... Yeah, I don't want to aggro those. We'll get out of here. It's going to follow me onto the other map. I need to get it... They have a chance of losing aggro because they're not the brightest thing. So they do have a chance to lose interest, and then if they don't spot you, then you can just move away. But the only other way we're going to get rid of this thing is by getting it aggroed onto something else. Or I guess we could fight it, but I don't really want to. Kind of getting myself stuck though. You know what? Screw it. I won't fight it. Okay, well, I guess we lose in progress. Whatever. That's why I don't like fighting them the early. Okay, well, I just won't go that way, then we kind of know what's up there. So there's a cave, and there's... Now I don't have this thing marked, but we'll put it there. We know it's there. Okay, I'll just go over here, then we'll hit this up and get XP here. Then we'll go down and grab the... Did I grab anything? I don't think I grabbed anything that I care about. We'll go up here, we'll get the XP from this. And the XP for exploring here. And then we'll also explore here to get a little more XP. And then fight the bandits that are sitting outside of the dungeon. And... I'll just take that route instead so that I don't accidentally make similar mistakes again. But this is why saving is very important in the early game. Because pretty much everything can kill you. So those question marks we're staying away from because both of them are not things that we can tackle. I would like to get the 50 XP for exploring them, but whatever. I could come back and deal with that later. I'll go up to the watchtower. Oh, I guess we did fight those bandits. And I did... Yeah, and now I don't have those swords. Whoops. Oh well. We can find more bandits and get the swords. Alright. This will be a chunk of experience. This is one of the outskirt hubs that kind of count as an extension of the main Orsbrook town. This is just the roadside tower. They're part of the same faction. I think it's starting at nighttime, because usually there's a blacksmith standing out that you can buy and sell stuff from and repair your equipment at. There's always a campfire here, and then there's also one up here. And then if you get the caravan unlocked, there will be a traveling cart guy here, which you can use to move from town to town, as well as he has a small inventory of stuff that you can buy off of him, randomized equipment that can be damaged and have enchantments on it and stuff. So he's always worth checking every time you see him, just to see if he has new stuff on him. But he isn't currently not there because you have to complete the first sets of quests, storyline wise, to unlock the ability to go to the next town and get your caravan unlocked. So this guy also, he'll stand down here, but he's going to go upstairs because he's going to bed. But you can talk to him and use him as a alternative to the mayor in the starting town. He has the ability to pick quests up from. You can also turn in quests to him, which is what I typically do after doing the dungeon that spawns up here. It's not always the grave. I think I have seen the Pilgrim's Rest up here instead of the old grave. And vice versa. Usually the bandit camp always spawns around here, but I think those two dungeons can switch spots. Now, we are a bit north. This is considered slightly higher spawn rate for enemies. So I have to be careful. And there's a higher chance in these forests for the higher tier animals to spawn, so though there is a rest spot here, so we're gonna just use this to save so I don't have to trek back even further. Oh yeah, there's buckets of water here as well. I forgot to mention that. Most of these little outposts have, or any of the little tiles will have a bucket of water somewhere. So you can use that to refresh your water whenever you hit up one of these locations. Okay. Hopefully this is a bandit camp. We've gotten pretty unlucky with the question marks finding early bandit camps, because you want to find as many of them as you possibly can in the early game. Usually the ones with chests will be locked, but there's always other wagons and barrels that are scattered around the camp that you can interact with. Oh, it's a boar trail. We can't get too close to that, but at least we got the XP unlocked. Yeah, so trails are another... I'll have to go off map before it shows up on the map. Trails are another location you can find alongside bandit camps that are fairly common on the overworld map. Trails will always have a wild type. I was going to say animal, but sometimes they're not what I would consider animal, because there are ghoul dens, and I don't really consider those animals. So beasts, I guess, are the best way to say it. These are going to be useful for this character in particular, because we oops, where's the inventory button? Because we have the bone charm thing, and we want to sacrifice animal trophies to the bone charm, because our character is a dwarf and they worship a different god than the humans do in this game. So I think both the dwarves have stuff to do with skinning. They're more tribal about, I guess, more about like nature deities. I don't quite know their lore very well. I just know that the human god, you can find churches in the town that's here and the town that's down here. And then I think this outpost town here also has a shrine to it as well. But the human settlements, besides the starting town, all have the church deity. And you can also find little shrines to their deity on the road that you can pray to. But you can only pray to them if you're a human. The dwarf will say something like, "Faha, blasphemy, false gods," or something if you click on it. And the dark elf that they added to the game also worships a different god. So, yeah, he also can't pray to the human gods. I think though, because the caravan, there's a caravan upgrade to add a shrine, and I know that it's different based on what character you're playing, because I think I've unlocked it on the dark elf, because I was curious, because I know that he worships I think it's a he worships a different god. So I was curious if it put the human shrine in the caravan or his shrine, and it actually puts a altar to his shrine. And I don't know if there's any static altars to the dark elf god in the actual game. Either that or the dwarf gods. I have no clue. I don't know too much about their lore. I do think it's kind of cool that the dark elves are Arabic themed in their clothing and such. That's the first time I've seen someone take the approach with elves, making them kind of thematically similar to a culture in real life. Okay. Okay, that guy has a chance of dropping a sword for us. Fortunately, we don't have those other 2 swords that we got when we died. Let's switch. I'm gonna have to be a little careful. Does this guy have something he can do with the, You can also, if you go inspect an enemy, I was talking about this earlier, about all these stats, but you can also see what abilities they have, and you can see that it's also on cooldown. I was just checking to see if this guy had something he can do with the torch, but he doesn't even have a ability for his sword, so he's got nothing. I was scared maybe he'd be able to throw it at me or something. So I don't want to take any extra fire damage or anything. Okay, we're gonna get that. We're gonna grab money and not the torch or the pickfork. Pick up all our stones. We'll check the barrels. Nothing in there. We'll grab the rope. Always useful to have some rope to make some more splints. This onion always spawns here. And the bucket, and also cooking pot. Usually there's always a bowl here too, I think. This cart will always have items in it, but they'll always be random. Bear fat's interesting. I don't think I've ever seen bear fat spawn in here. And it can be used for the bone. Oh, that's good. Okay, we want this. It can be used on our bone shard, or our bone charm, and I think it's weapon damage. Yeah, weapon damage. Okay, that's good. We need that. This will be sold for money. We're not going to go in the dungeon. So, something I figured out. I'm not entirely... I might have to check it again, but there was something I tested on one of my playthroughs. Because back in the old day, I would never pick up the quests for dungeons. I would just do them. But I think that... because when you pick up the quest, you have a limited amount of time to complete the quest, or you fail it, and then the dungeon closes. If you don't pick up the quest, you can still go in the dungeon. There's no time limit now, blah 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 blah. But the issue with completing a dungeon where you killed the boss, if that is the quest's parameters for completion, if you go back to town and talk to them, you can hand in the quests even though you didn't pick it up, but you will make less money and gain less reputation with the faction for doing that, because they're like, well, you didn't take the contract, you kind of just did it on your own free will. I guess we'll give you some handouts, but you don't get as much. Just something to consider. Because before that wasn't a thing in the game, but also they have now changed the quests for dungeons to have a variety of different objectives in the dungeons, where the last time I tested that was that every dungeon was just kill the boss of the dungeon complete. Now there's a variety of different, collect some things in the dungeon, burn some corpses in the dungeon, go collect an artifact from within the dungeon, kill the boss, bring a body part trophy back to secure that you've killed him. A bunch of variety of different little... rescue... that was one of the alternative ones in the very early parts of this game, was rescuing people, but it wasn't as common. But now it's a little bit more engaged, because not only do you have to rescue the guy, you actually have to get him out of the dungeon. So... yeah. And I think there was also like go in the dungeon and grab or get this item, but usually it dropped off the boss. So in the olden days, but now there's a lot more variety in quest objectives for the dungeons. So I don't know how that works for turning in the quests, but I always pick them up now because I don't want the less money and reputation. I just will always prepare before and make sure that I'm completely ready to go do the dungeon before I pick up the quest, because then you only have 3 days to complete the contract or you failed. And you don't want that happening, so always get prepared for dungeons. Because way back in the old day, I used to exploit a mechanic in the game that isn't in the game anymore, where you could clear a dungeon up into the boss and then leave the dungeon and then go back in the dungeon and it would reset the dungeon. But now the dungeon stays static until you've reset the dungeon by it closing. Otherwise, by you turning in the quest, it stays static until then. Or I'm assuming, I haven't tested it, I'm assuming there's a refresh period on days in game before it resets the interior of a dungeon, so I imagine that that might also be the case, but I haven't thoroughly tested that yet. Okay, right, we have a level, as well as we have this bear fat, and we might as well sacrifice our bear fat to the dwarven gods. I'm assuming it's like some kind of hunting god or something. Kind of like in Greek mythology, was it it's the main female god, Artemis, I think. It's been a while since I've polished my knowledge on Greek lore. So now we have a static blue effect on the bone charm, giving us +3 weapon damage. So as this sits in our inventory, we're going to have additional weapon damage, which is awesome. I don't think that equates to much right now. It might equate to 1 damage, but it also might just be helping with what we currently have to round into the same 1 damage. But as our total weapon damage goes up as we get better and better equipment, that percentile effect is going to be much more effective. Right. It is a bandit camp. Let's switch to our sling. Okay, not close enough. You shot your buddy. Yeah, so when you're fighting archers, it's always good to try to space them between yourself and the archer. Any enemies coming towards you, because just like as if I were to try to attack the archer, there's a chance that it'll hit anything that's in between. I don't know why I got the discovery while we were in the middle of combat, but I guess it's because the sun came up, and so my vision, the sun's coming up, so my vision increased by 1, which allowed us to see. But as I said, the new mechanics, I don't quite know all these. I'm going to try to position slightly to get this sword guy in between. Okay, that's good. He's immobilized. More immobilized. Okay, the archer has run out of arrows, that's why he's approaching us now. Hey, those little bubbles that we see on the bandit means that he's dazed, and I believe, let's see, the dazed condition gives a bunch of negative penalties, but I also believe it turns off your ability to use skills, because we can also get dazed. Yeah, as you can see at the bottom, it says can't use abilities. So if I were dazed, I wouldn't be able to use either of these two things. But it's not helpful against this guy because, well, I mean it is because there's negative effects, but it's not as helpful because he doesn't have any skills. So he's just going to auto attack us anyways. Archers are usually less effective in melee range because they're just using a one-hander, and they usually don't have skills to use with the one-handers. But some of the later bandits that are ranged archers or crossbow users, and I'm assuming now there's going to be sling ones in the game. I know that the late game crossbow guy has some melee attacks with his sword or dagger. I can't remember which one he has on him. Bunch of arrows. We want the cleaver. Okay, we got 2 of the 3 swords we need. We just need to find one more sword. There's a chance we can find it inside of inside one of these barrels. Doesn't look like there's any barrels actually. That sucks. Is this open? No. Usually they're locked. Sometimes I don't know if it's 100% chance, but I think I think there's a small chance for some of them to be open. But we can rest. This is another spot we're gonna have to come back to because I definitely am gonna want to pick open all of these chests that we're missing. One here, one here, one here. And then, I mean, there's the bees, but we can't deal with those right now. So we saved. Oh yeah, we have a level, right? Let's go into strength. We're going to do that till 15. I now have 2 talents, so maybe I will consider picking up something here now. We definitely do want this, because it just is a passive that buffs this. We could get... Because usually, when I consider specking... Whoops, I accidentally bumped my mic. Usually when I'm considering specking points in the early game, you're wanting static abilities that go on your bar that you can actually use. Passives are less desirable because you don't have a lot of things you could be doing, so passives are better when you have a whole lot of abilities that you can be doing for your actions per round, allowing the passives to kind of statically help you out. But in the early game you want to have active things that you can be doing, not passive static buffs as much. But since we're kind of stuck in a range / melee build, I might consider picking up some passives at the moment just to help out, because the range passives are decent at least. I think this is the one that increases accuracy. It is pretty decent after you get this thing. If you're playing a ranged character, you always want take aim as your first skill, but constant practice. I think this is the one that allows the penalty while shooting over obstacles as well as within melee range, because you get a bit of a penalty if something's right next to you. Reduces accuracy when shooting 1 tile away. Yeah. So if you're doing like a pure range build, this is a must. Though it's probably a must anyways, because you're just going to be speccing everything in that ranged. But this is a must if you're going range, because it allows you to even use your weapon in close range and not switch to a melee weapon. But we're going to be switching to a melee weapon anyways. But it's still useful to get, just because, say I'm trying to shoot a bandit that's over here, this technically counts as being in the way. This will reduce the penalty that it'll hit this instead and actually make it over and hit the bandit on the other side of it. As well as if I'm attacking, as we were doing earlier where we were attacking the bandits over here, the bandit in between. If I wanted to attack the bandit behind, this also helps deal with it because the bandit in between is considered a obstacle. So this is worth picking up. This would be good if we're planning on playing pure ranged, because this has the immobilization stuff, and it lets you jump back one space to reposition. And the reason it has the immobilization chance on it is so that you can actually get a little bit of distance and potentially keep it from enemies. I might end up picking it up at some point, but since we're just kind of shooting things until they get to us and then attacking them with our spear, I'm going to avoid grabbing that at the moment. This one, I think, is more useful. Did they add something to it for the new slings? Because this one, I think, is the one that allows you to recover. Is this the one that lets you recover? Or is this one it? There's one that allows you to recover some of your ammunition. If equipped with a ranged weapon, switching to the loadout. Okay, this one allows you to switch hit, so we might pick this one up. So, using the W action on your keyboard that switches between ranged and melee takes an action. But if you grab this, if you're in range mode, and then you... Is it... Okay. Killing an enemy with a melee strike activates... Okay, so when you're in melee and you've killed an enemy with your melee weapon, if you switch back, it doesn't take an action, I believe, if I'm reading this right. Yeah. And then it will automatically put the take aim buff on you. So it'll count as though you just did pretty much 2 actions at once. So in the action economy of this turn-based game, this reigns supreme if you're playing a switch hit build with a ranged weapon, which you usually will be doing if you're playing ranged. If equipped with a ranged weapon, switching loadout and melee doesn't take a turn. Okay, and it also allows you to switch to melee without wasting an action. So I think we're going to grab dexterity. We do have one more point, so I could grab constant practice just to help with our accuracy. Okay, this one also says halves the chance for ammo to break upon hitting. Yeah, this is the one that helps with ammo collection. I don't think that's as impactful for us, or at least at the moment. We will eventually be switching to ammunition that costs money, so that will be useful for us at that point. But right now we're just using stones, so getting them back's not a big issue. We can just go pick them up. But eventually we'll be switching to those like iron spiked ones and the lead balls. Okay, enough yapping about that. I don't think we'll hold on to that one point. I always like having an extra point available once you unlock the next tier of talents, so that you can just quickly spec into some of the more powerful talents further down. Okay, so we'll save, and then we still have to hit up the mill on the way back to town. And I would like to find one more sword. So we're going to find a bandit encounter. So that we can hand in that and get the 150 gold for completing the quest. So hopefully we can find an overland encounter with a sword bandit and he actually drops his sword. Either that or we're going to have to find another bandit camp. I'll grab some more leeks. And I think we still need some more stones, so I'll grab these. Okay. There is a mechanic in the game, I know this for sure, that walking on the road has a chance of triggering bandit encounters. So we might use that as a means to find our last sword. So the quest for this, I don't know if you can actually pick it up from the... I'm assuming you can pick it up from the mill guy himself. But he just wants you to find his missing storage key that he's dropped while working somewhere. And it's always on the... There it is. It's always somewhere out in the field. Randomly spawns. You can just hold down the Alt button, which allows you to highlight things to be able to find it easier. And then you just talk to him, and he lets you know that you can keep whatever inside of the shed since you found the key. Which will be some food, which we need anyways. And there's a bed inside of it, and there's also a bedroll. So the bedroll's the problem because you can actually sell it for a decent amount of money, but it takes up so much space that it's a bit annoying to try to cart it out of here. But normally I'd want to cook these things into a recipe. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to get this bedroll in here. I would like to, because we need that early money, but we have a little too many little extra doodads in our inventory. I don't think I need the hemp on me. Let's see, can I need... No, I'm going to need... Yeah, I'm going to need too much space. Maybe I can... I'd have to drop these leeks. Let's position this a little bit better. Okay, and then I'll just eat one of those. We made it. Okay. A little extra, buddy. Okay. Don't have room in the inventory for the bandit encounters, so I'll stay off the road for now. But we will go outside and walk on the road to try to trigger that once we've got back to town and sold some stuff and cooked up some food and stuff. Okay, we're fully filled up on that. We'll sell the bedroll to the general goods guy. And the hourglass. And maybe we'll get rid of this torch for now. I'm not planning on cave diving. We can come back for just to free up some more room in our inventory. We need to hold on to the swords. It's nice that we got a free herbal abstract. We need to do some cooking. I need to make a splint out of that rope. Or we could sell the rope. It only sells for 2. I think the splint will be better overall. Okay. We'll go get some sticks right here. Quickly craft ourselves a splint. And then we can do some cooking. How much money did we end up getting? 60. Might book a room just for a save. How long have I been playing this for? 2 hours-ish? Let's pour this in. Make some lentil soup. What's our hunger looking at? 16. And we'll eat. And I'll make some more lentil soup with the rest of the lentils. Okay. I'm going to stick these swords in our room chest up here so that I can clean out some inventory space. We're going to need to go fill this back up. I'll just leave the water that's currently in the pot in the pot. You used to be able to store items inside of these because they're considered your items. We can't take any of this stuff because it's the property of the inn, but you used to be able to store some of your items in here, but I found out in the last time I played, I tried doing that because a long time ago these containers inside of the inn never refreshed. They were static. They always, whatever spawned in them stayed in them. They would not change. Now they go on the same loot table as a lot of overworld containers. So these things constantly change every 7 days. I think it's about 5 days in game. So if you put anything inside of them, they'll disappear. Because when the loot table changes, it'll just get rid of the items that are in there. So that's something I found out the hard way. Anyone who's coming back to the game who was doing the same thing as me, or you think you're wise and you're trying to do that yourself, just letting you know that that's not a thing you can do anymore. Okay. What we got? So, I have options. We definitely want to go get a sword, which we could easily do inside of the bandit dungeon. We could grab the quest and go do the bandit dungeon. Shouldn't be too difficult. The problem is I don't have a whole lot of resources going in there. So we are down. I would like to have at least 6 of these to hit up a dungeon. As well as we're down 1 bandit. So I do need to complete that quest so that we can get money to supply our ventures into the dungeon. What we can do is we can grab the picklocks. How much is a crowbar? Just slightly out of our reach. And that doesn't sell for enough. We could buy the general lockpicks. I prefer crowbars for opening things, because you can just repair them after you use them a handful of times to get the durability back. Lockpicks have a fail chance when you use them, and then if they fail, they deplete one of the 3 uses on them. So they're decent because they're cheap, but they're not as useful generally than the crowbar, because the crowbar always opens the thing, and the crowbar can be used on other things such as disarming traps, and some of the doors in the crypt can only be opened by crowbars and not by lockpicks, so they're generally more useful. And the lockpicks also got a nerf. I used to use lockpicks, but it was last patch, I believe. They've increased the inventory space of lockpicks to 2 spots instead of 1, because it used to be that they were I think they were also cheap. They were as cheap as they are now, but they also only took up 1 spot. So you could carry. That was the advantage of using lockpicks before, was that they only took up 1 spot. So you could have 1 or 2 of them on you, and then it wouldn't matter. You'd have a bunch of uses. If you broke a couple lockpicks, it was fine. But now that it takes up 2 spots, in comparison to the crowbar, it just doesn't feel as good, because the crowbar is 3 slots, even though they take up different dimensions, because this one's and I'm not familiar at the top of my mind perpendicular versus vertical, one or the other. I can't really, brain not working properly at the moment. One's perpendicular, one's vertical. This is vertical. Yeah. Okay, so they take up different dimensions, but this one's 2 versus 3, and so just for 1 more slot, you get so much more utility out of the crowbar than you do out of the lockpicks. So I almost never use lockpicks anymore, as well as if you're just playing a pure melee build and you're not planning on using ranged as a backup, which you should if you are doing a melee build. But if you're doing a melee build, you can just have your crowbar sitting in your alternate weapon slot, and then just have your regular melee loadout, and then switch, grab the or I don't even know if you need to switch, because it's still technically on your person, so it counts as being in your inventory. So you can just use the crowbars in your second slot instead of having to have them take up inventory space. As well as there's a couple backpacks later on in the game that you can get that go on your back slot that have a space for crowbars. So they do have for lockpicks as well, but crowbars are just more useful in general. But we'll pick up the early lockpicks because we do have a couple chests that we found that we need to open up. So we'll hit up, I think I'll hit up this one first because it's closest, and then I can hit up this one and this one at the same time, which we know are have some chests. Hopefully we can either, one, find a sword inside of them so that we can hand in the quest, two, find some nice valuable loot. Freaking snakes. We can find some loot that's either going to be equipment that are upgrades for us, or just general stuff that we can sell to the vendor to make some money. And hopefully while we're roaming around we can find one more sword so I can turn in the blacksmith's quest. Do definitely like, I think it was in the last patch, they've increased the animation speed on moving, because it took a little bit longer before to move from tile to tile, but they've definitely, I think it's doubled the pace, which is significantly better. Right. Didn't fail. Ooh. Well, that's a lot of early game money, but this is also one of the, there's something worth considering when you're looting, because I think it was one of the most ingenious things the game designer did for this game was a lot of these little like valuable knick-knack things, they're useful in the early game, in the old build, for some early game money, but once you got to a certain point, you start realizing like which valuables are worth what, and then certain valuables start being less desirable because you're like, why am I picking up this thing that's worth like 50 gold and not really worth my time? I'll just leave it on the ground. 50 gold's nothing to me now. Why am I picking this up anymore? But in the early game, you know, at 50 gold, like right now where we have pretty much no money, that 50 gold's everything to us. But there's a point in the very late game where it's like, I don't want to pick up valuables anymore. I have like 20,000 gold pieces back at camp, so why would I bother? One of the cooler things he did to the game was he made these valuables have duo purpose, because you can sell them, but also you are required to get some of these things to upgrade the caravan that you get. So it gives you and since you can't just buy it, some of these things you can't just buy at vendors. There are some of this stuff you can buy at vendors, but this can be bought at certain vendors, just not easily accessible vendors. It gives you kind of an alternative quest that isn't a built-in quest, but a quest that's of your own objective to go collect all these valuables to upgrade your caravan. Definitely one of the funner things he added to the game. Oh. There, finally we get fatigue, because we haven't been sleeping. Fatigue hurts melee builds, but it's much more detrimental to casting builds, as well as you build fatigue a lot faster as a caster. because I think fatigue has been in the game for a significant amount of time, but I usually just ignore it for the most part, because I don't tend to play magic builds in this game. But we can rest to at least get rid of the fatigue at one of these, at the bandit camps. Though I think there's a chance to get ambushed, which is fine because we could do that. There's a chance that the bandit will have one of the bandits will have swords on it, so. And I think that we're in a space where a night sleeping encounter isn't going to kill us. And I think it counts as a save anyway, so it's not going to be a big deal. We'll just have to keep doing the encounter over and over again until we are successfully dispatch the bandits. But I don't think I've ever had a bandit encounter. I know they exist because I read the document when it was added to the game. But I don't think I've ever actually encountered a ambush encounter from sleeping at a bandit camp before. I'll eat this. It is now raining. Oops. Yeah, rain gives you a debuff, but it also gives you a buff to fire resistance. So, not a huge deal. It also, once it stacks up to a certain point, will start rusting your metal equipment, which is really annoying later on in the game when you have expensive metal equipment. Okay, well, that's the first time we actually got hit by the snake. Frickin' snakes. Hey, we have one herbal aspect, so we'll... Oh wait, that was the wrong thing. Oops, that one's for pain. No, I just wasted that. Oh no, whatever. And it also increases our intoxication chance. No, I was supposed to use I usually have an anti-venom on me. I thought that the herbal aspect was anti-venom. Whoops, my bad. Okay, we could get some meat here. Duck meat. Okay, I don't think that these things have trophies. And I don't want to pluck them yet, because as soon as you pluck them, the meat item goes into your inventory and then it starts having its countdown before it rots. So we will just keep the ducks the way they are at the moment. They also have a rot chance, well they're this, but the rot chance resets when you pluck the feathers off of them. We'll collect the water because got a little bit of water taken off. I want to go check this question mark out real quick. But we have some meat, which is good. I don't think we have any recipes at the moment. Actually, we do. We have the skewer recipe that requires meat. But just cooking the meat and eating it without a recipe. We got 2 question marks over here. Just eating the meat on the bone itself is pretty hearty, though cooking it into a recipe is definitely gives more effects than if you just eat it raw. Well, not eat it raw. You don't want to eat meat raw in this game, but eat it cooked. That is a ghoul den. Luckily I don't see any ghouls. We are going to leave that alone. I'm not fighting ghouls at this exact moment. Ghouls are a pretty easy enemy if you encounter just the regular ghouls, but the ghoul dens have a variety of the different types of ghouls at them. Because the mechanics with the ghouls is that they start off super weak, and then they, if they're below 50% health, they will eat a nearby corpse, or they'll attempt to find a nearby corpse to eat. And then if they eat the nearby corpse, they'll evolve into the next tier of ghoul, and I think they get all their health back. And then they get a bunch of additional abilities and stuff because they're considered a new enemy type. And the first tier ghoul is super easy to kill. The big problem is if you get swarmed by ghouls, they'll eat each other. And then you have a, you know, big problem with constantly healing ghouls, as well as them getting more powerful after they've eaten their compadres after they died. So there we go. So you have to be a little careful with ghouls, especially since these ghoul camps have a chance for the 3rd tier ghoul, which is the last one. They only can evolve twice, but once they get to the 3rd tier, they become incredibly deadly. So these usually there'll be one spawned around them, and I don't want to have to deal with a tier 3 ghoul this early on. I can easily deal with a tier 1 ghoul, and I could maybe get away with killing a tier 2 ghoul if there isn't any other enemies around, but I am not fighting a tier 3 ghoul at all. Not in the slightest. Okay, there's something chasing this deer because it was coming this way, so we have to be careful. Oh yeah, it's bandits. Thought it might be a wolf. I need you guys to have swords, please. I want to finish my quest. I didn't realize I'm still quite damaged. Okay, let's use this. Patch ourselves up a bit. We'll check out this last question mark and then we'll circle back around and hit up this, and it should have some decent loot for us. Usually there's something expensive in that chest, because that chest is a little bit more static than some of the other chests. There's probably going to be something closer to this in value inside of it. We got pretty lucky and got this. And now I have to make a decision, which I think I've already decided what I want to do, and selling it. But this is one of the upgrades for the caravan. Oh, that's a mistake. Okay. At least the ones are too far away, and that one up there is a tier 2. This one that's chasing me right now is a tier 1. I think that the second one that's further back is too far away to follow me to the next screen. So we can take on a tier 1 ghoul by itself for sure. They are not very strong. Especially when there's no corpses around, because then they will not go looking for a corpse to eat if there are no corpses within something like 5-ish tiles, 5-6 tiles away from them. But they're also considered a beast unit, so you can skin them. And they didn't drop the thing that we can use to sacrifice to the bone charm, which is the ghoul heart. But we did get the ghoul pelt. Doesn't sell for a whole lot of money, but we'll pick it up anyways. I got so close to the ghoul den, but I didn't discover it because it's still showing as a question mark. So we're gonna... I don't want to accidentally aggro those other ghouls, but it would have been nice to get the extra 50 experience for discovering the location. But I'm not gonna risk it trying to scout it. Okay. You might want to be, if you're playing the game for the first time, marking the gravestones in case you want to dig them up, but as I said earlier, I am not interested in digging up graves. Okay. Do we want to... We didn't discover the brewery. This is a part of a quest that we have to do after the first dungeon. I've kind of skirted around it this whole time, but I haven't discovered it. So we might as well do that, because we're getting pretty close to the next level anyways. Will give us another big chunk of XP, but we want to be careful about it, because there is an event... There, we discovered it. There is an event for the bandits to come over to you. Because the quest line for this is that the bandits have basically invaded it and are using it as a base of operations to sell the liquor at it or whatever. And after you're done the first dungeon, you get the next quest before you're allowed to leave the town and get the the rights to use the caravan to move to the capital city. I call it that, but I'm not sure if it's actually a capital. It's a big city, so I call it the capital city, but it's called Bran, I believe. This one? Yeah, it's called Bran. This one's always Brook. Oh yeah, that was the bee place. Yeah, you get a quest to go and get rid of the bandits that are at that brewery. But if you get too close to the brewery, then the bandits will approach you. They don't attack immediately, but they'll be like, hey, piss off. And then you can either say, oh, okay, I'll do that, and then walk off screen, or you can be like, nah, screw that noise, let's fight. Or you can do what I do and just ambush the bandits before the dialogue option comes up, because then you get the surprise attack on them. And there's a lot of glitchy... I'm not going to say glitchiness, just programming things that you can do to exploit the bandits there, because they don't follow you off map. So you can make the bandit encounter there a little bit more easier by kiting off map and then coming back on map somewhere else. Which I encourage people who are newer to the game to do, because the bandits there are a little bit more tougher than a lot of the bandits that we've been fighting, because they all have weapon attacks and they actually have decent equipment on them. So if you're newer to the game, or even a veteran like myself... interesting, the pig skin is actually worth a decent amount. And we got a piece of cloth, which we could use to heal the durability of some of our cloth armor here a little bit. I think our chest piece is considered leather though. Yeah. We can use it on our helmet. We will use this to save our progress, even though I don't think we're going to die on the way back. But always worth saving wherever you can save. And just because I get annoyed at leaving things half finished, I'm going to go around this, skirt around this mountain and go fill in that part of the map, because I have weird brain patterns that make me want to complete things. and it'll always just bug me that it's just sitting there unfilled in as I continue to play this game if I don't go do it. So. There we go. Filled in. Okay, so we don't have the most valuable stuff on us, but the sensor thing that we have is worth a decent chunk of early game change. And the hides, even though they have a price tag on them, are going to be a little bit lower selling them because the vendors will never buy anything for full price. So we're probably going to get roughly half of the shown value on it. But that's still a decent amount of money. Valuables such as the sensor sell for a little bit more than half, just because of how the value system works in the game. Things that have generically are like considered generically valuable items, such as things made with like gold, silver, decorative stuff that like is more what you would consider a treasure or something. Oh, okay, we're gonna have to use the inn so we can switch it back to daytime, or we could go to one of the camps. But I want to save here. We're probably gonna save doing the dungeon until I play this again. So we got a decent amount of stuff done, even though we didn't get further into the game doing the actual like quest line, but we did what I like to do in the early game, which is basically start gearing up to have a very easy chance, or easy sorry, I'm getting a bit brain farty. Easy not complicated and easy completion of the first dungeon. There, I'll say it that way. We don't want a challenging first dungeon. We want to try to make it as less of a challenge for us as we can, so we don't have to come out of it bruised and beaten. Especially since if you waste so many resources on the first dungeon and get scratched up so much that you have to waste all of your medical supplies, durability on your equipment, ammunition, yada yada yada. Then you're gonna have to spend all the money that you got inside of the dungeon on maintaining all of that, instead of it just being money in your pocket. Luckily we didn't lose any durability on the picks, so we still have those for later. Yeah, we're gonna sell off this stuff to the general goods guy, who's stuck behind this guard. Okay, there we go. Oh, come on. Okay, I'm gonna zone into a building. Oh, okay, I went off screen and fixed. Oops, I accidentally picked up his quest. Whatever. You don't have a time limit on completing those quests anyways. I forget which one his... Yeah, he wants a bison horn and pelt, which you can't get for a while. In fact, usually I never do that quest because the bisons move in packs and they're quite deadly, and they will all aggro on you if you attack them. They have very low aggro radius, and they also do the thing that most wild animals do, where they will first stand still and go "Huh?" and have the like little exclamation marks. And then if you stay within their aggro radius for a certain amount of turns, then they'll attack you. But if you just buzz off, then they'll just go back to being passive. I'll sell the skins to this guy because he buys them for almost the same price, I believe, if not a little bit more. And also, each vendor only has a certain amount of money on them, so it's good to always give them to the appropriate vendors so that you have access to more potential money to stick in your pockets. Okay, we got a decent chunk of money now. Just repaired through, yeah. It used to be, there was a bit of a bug in the system, but he found out about it, that the, obviously the sling's newer, but the ranged weapons such as bows and crossbows wouldn't take any durability damage when used. But I think it was the last patch, development team finally fixed that. It was I wouldn't say it's an exploit, it was just something that was overlooked in the programming, probably. Okay, so we've repaired everything. This thing's not been taking a lot of durability damage, but I think it's because we've been using the sling mostly. That's fine. So we're good durability-wise. I'm basically going to use the rest of this session to just buy our resources for our next venture. Gonna have to pluck those ducks. So we're gonna buy all the stuff that we require, and then I'm probably gonna call the session. Just so that when I start, probably tomorrow, I don't know, I'll see what tomorrow brings, but probably do something around the same time tomorrow. I mean, we're pretty much out of money now. But we got the 6 that I needed. I don't really need the bandages, we got enough splints. It would be nice to have a herb abstract, and it's too bad I used that one earlier by accident, but is what it is. And then we got the ducks for food, because I always like having at least a meal or 2, because you're gonna get hungry by the time the time lapse that it takes to do a dungeon. You're probably going to be dealing with hunger at least once, maybe twice, so it's always good to have about 2 meals prepared when going into a dungeon. 6 herbal extracts is what I like having on me to hit up a first dungeon. Sometimes you can get away with just 4. I like having 6 just because, you know, things could go wrong. Having 2 pairs of bandages is usually good, just because all the bladed weapons usually have a chance of bleeding. So there's a chance that you will run out of bandages if you only carry 1 on you. Splints, I usually carry 2 to 3 of them, just because once you hit the 50% threshold, you get the crippling condition, and you can only cure crippling conditions, or not cripple, but injured condition with a splint. So at least the splint heals the 35% immediately, but usually you don't want to drop below if you can, and that's why it's worth carrying an abundance of regular healing salves to keep your bars here completely topped off. You don't have to completely top them off, but you want them as close to 100%, so that while in the middle of combat you don't have to finnick around with that stuff and waste your action economy on healing yourself rather than on taking a auto attack or using a skill to deal damage to your opponents. So I think we're all geared up to hit up a dungeon next stream, but I will be calling that this here for tonight. If you watched the end, thank you, and have a great day.